right, guys, so here's the thing, all right? This is a big lesson, dude. My heart is like literally broken in pieces right now. I don't even know how to describe like the feeling that I felt earlier. So our dog Shadow, he's over here with my wife, and he's just cuddling right up to her. That's what he needs to do. We just went on a trip on Facebook Marketplace and bought some stuff, and it was a 3.5 hour drive somewhere in southern Illinois, right? And then loading the stuff up, the dog got it. He was, we were getting in, and I used to tell him, I'm like, all right, buddy, boot, scoot, and boogie means go to the back seat. Well, he didn't have like a lot of room back there because we hadn't organized it that well, but he had room to sit down, but he was kind of a little grumpy about that. Well, somehow he hit the window, or some of us hit the window. I don't know. But I didn't know the window was down, or he hit it with his paw. And so the little boy sitting back there, dude, our heart and soul, literally, we're going down the highway, probably 30, 40 minutes. And I know this sounds bad as can be. Makes us sound like bad parents. But really, we did not mean to do this. And so all of a sudden, we're just like talking about Shadow, and we're like, hey, he's being awful quiet. How's he doing? And Stephanie looked back there, dude, and she said, hey, boy. And she's like, I said, where is he, Steph? And she said, hey, bud, Shadow, come here, boy. And she was feeling around. She didn't feel him. And then, like, I said, where is he? She said, I think he's down in the seat. And she looked down there, and he was gone. And I saw the look on her face, and it almost made me just sad, dude. I saw the horror on her face, like, oh my God, he is gone. And I'm like, are you serious? So then he must have jumped out. So now my mind's thinking, and this is a good thing my grandpa taught me, is that you backtrack all your steps, okay? Always remember that, backtrack all your steps. So I was thinking, all right, man, I really have an intuition from the Lord that this dog jumped out by Jeff's house, and right when we were loading the stuff up. I just have a strong feeling of that. But my mind is thinking also, let's kill out every variable here. We hit a couple stoplights. Like, we're way out in like southern Illinois, we passed this big lake. It's like a 20-minute drive basically to get around the lake. And then, there's a couple stop signs, stoplights on the way to where we had been, And so I was like, so he either jumped out randomly at a stoplight, but I would have heard him, that's what just doesn't make sense, So that's where I'm still kind of leaning toward he jumped out at Jeff's. And so, with that being said, on the way back, we're backtracking and looking, there's a lot of ground to cover though, and it's overwhelming and daunting sometimes, but you just got to have trust in the Lord, man. And that's all I could do. I was like, there's so many thoughts going through your mind, dumb ones and good ones, man. But I was like, Lord, please, guide me to find Shadow and make sure. I prayed this. I was like, if he did jump out on the highway, which I doubt he did because he's not stupid enough to do that. And Stephanie kind of agreed. I was like, but if he's out, like if he jumped out at a stoplight, though, which makes sense he could have. I was like, don't let him get hit by a car. Don't let some weird stranger fly by night get a hold of him trying to catnap him, or low key or whatever, or anything like that. So I said, just have him, just bring him to us, man. This was literally on faith, guys. Like, this is a story of God working a miracle right before your eyes. So, because look, man, a lot of things are going through my mind, guilt tripping and stuff. Like, we hadn't had the money right away to be able to get him microchipped. Or even if we had the money, I was debating strongly about the microchip thing because, I don't like this whole microchip stuff. I didn't understand it too much. I really didn't think it, I wanted to put anything into him foreign, I know it's probably meaningless. I don't like the idea of microchips going in humans for sure, so I'm like, just kind of avoided it and until I researched it later on a little further, and then I was going to make a decision. Plus, I had not had the money to buy GPS trackers, which I really feel like they need to come out with something, dude. They got the technology, dude, that's affordable GPS tracking device. Not no freaking $600 for a GPS tracker. You know what I'm saying? Like, they've come out with stuff in the past and they just kind of wipe it off the shelves, man. All we got is these stupid tiles and air tags. And to me, I haven't really investigated them myself or done the whole, you know, reviews of them myself. I just feel like they're not very efficient, to be honest with you. But so, and especially in a case like this. So like I said, we're 40 minutes away. I was like, call the cops. So we call the local police. I tell them, I'm like, hey guys, you know, our dog jumped out the window. It already sounds bad, you know, but I said, I don't know how he did it. I was like, he might have pushed a button in the back or something, you know? And so, and I said, I feel like he really jumped off. I gave him the address where we had done this Facebook Marketplace pickup for something that we had bought. And, you know, we're trying to do some bicycle mechanic stuff and start a little mobile bicycle repair and all that. And so we bought some amazing tools thanks to the guy that sold them to us. But like it was gonna help, you know, maybe start doing some like mobile bicycle repair and stuff. Well, like I said, I thought he jumped out there, and I said, but you know, I said, here's the thing. I said, could you please send an officer over to that address to try to find the dog? I know he's around there. And I said, we're gonna look on the way back. I said, I really don't want... All they would say, though, listen, all right, I respect and love law enforcement, but I do have a problem with the stuff going on nowadays, man. Nowadays, you know, it's not the protect and serve thing anymore. That's a problem in and of itself. I mean, we need to have, you know, peace officers, not law enforcers. And I agree with that. A lot of these YouTube, like, First Amendment auditors talk about that. I really agree that's a true thing, because, man, if you have no regard for the people or no regard for things that are good anymore, why are you acting like you're in a position to do good and like protect and, you know, and uphold law and all that when you're not? That's not really the MO. Like, I mean, nowadays we got so many dark things going on, man. You know, we got Charlie Kirk getting shot in the neck, man. We got Trump almost being assassinated. Like, no matter what you say about that, you know, those assassination attempts were wrong, and there could have been more people actually doing something to protect them or to protect us. You know, those bullets that are going could hit, you know, maybe bystander civilians and things like that. And it's like, you know, and those powers that be are supposed to train and are supposed to actually want to protect, but it's almost like there's not real security, man. Like, there's people getting through the gate, like, you know, nobody's really paying attention to background and passes or something, you know. I don't know, man. I'm ranting a little here, and I understand that. But basically, the point is this. I call, they want us to wait in the parking lot at Ace Hardware up here. I'm not saying anything bad about law enforcement, man, because there's a double-sided coin to everything. All right, let me explain something. If you have a riots in the streets or somebody does something to you and you're in an emergency situation, like they rob you or kidnap your wife, or they try to like hold your wife, you know, at gunpoint, do you need law enforcement? Yes. All right. So, but this kind of stuff is what's going on around the country a lot, and I don't like it. They literally said, oh, wait until we send an officer to you. Oh, my wife's like, no, babe, we're going. You know, I'm like, I feel you, you know. So, like, literally, they were more concerned about us being investigated. Now, if the president's watching this and he ever sees it, I would say, hey, Trump, really? I understand, go rule law and order and all that, but no, rule of law needs to be paid attention to too, man. You know, like, we were actually, by calling the police, more of an investigative subject for them versus the real reason we called, which is needing help. You know what I'm saying? That's not cool, man. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna dog law enforcement. We need them. But guys, we gotta really like love each other and help each other here, man. So, done with the rant. But literally, I told her, I said, hey, hun, I said, you know, I can't wait here, dude. I said, I got to go, because she says, she turned around and told us, she said, look, all of our law enforcement's booked up right now. Guys, it's like, it's midnight, dude. You know what I'm saying? We're driving back all the way to, like, northern Indiana, man. You know, like, or, you know, the Chicago area. You know, like, okay. I mean, surely not. You know what I'm saying? Surely all law enforcement's not completely booked at a time when it's a ghost town everywhere you drive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, long story short, guys, this becomes a miracle. It's not a rant to, like, dog police officers, but she says they're all booked up. I'm like, honey, I said, I got to go. You know what I'm saying? I said, I got to do something and find my boy. I said, I can't stay here. Can I just go? You know, I said, can I go? You know what I'm saying? To be polite. You know what I'm saying? She said, she understood. She's like, yeah, just go. And she said, I turned the light off because there's a car passing us. So anyhow, she, or behind us, I mean. So we go, right? We're looking, I'm praying. I even got the audio Bible on, man. I'm just sitting there asking God. I said, Lord, even with my flesh as wicked as it is, I feel like I just can't connect with you. I said, please just lead me to the shadow. You know, my heart's broke, like thinking, what if I'm driving and I accidentally hit the dog, you know, because that's why I was trying to drive carefully. You know, when you're in a frantic situation, the best thing to do is remain in the Lord, remain calm, you know, as best as you can. And so we contacted Jeff, man, and he was like hard to get a hold of because I think he went to sleep. But finally the Lord allowed him to call my wife back, and he says, you lost your dog? And we're like, yeah, man, we lost the dog, man. I know it, I mean, like, I didn't want to get into a long story, so I was just like, yeah, man, I think he jumped back there while we were loading the stuff, you know. And I said, I think he hit the button on the window and he jumped out. And I said, I know he's got to be. He's like, where do you think he's at? I was like, Jeff, I think he's over by you. I said, I know. So he's a smart dog. He's a service dog in training. I said, he's got to be, you know, somewhere close to you, you know. And so Jeff said, all right. He's like, you know, he didn't even know what to believe. I mean, he was kind of like shocked by the whole story, and, you know, just as much as we were. And finally he said, all right, I'll go look. I said, well, we're on our way back, Jeff, you know. At this point, we're already like 10 minutes close to where this dog is, you know. And so anyhow, where Jeff's house is. So we get up there, and all of a sudden, you know, Jeff comes out in his work van, man. And we pull into his lane, you know, or like his housing addition area. And Jeff's sitting there, and he's like, man, he said, I just got out. He said, you know, he's like, where do you think he's at? And I said, you know what? I said, I think he's around here, Jeff. I was like, you know, the only place he could have been is if he jumped out at a stoplight or he jumped out on the highway, but I highly doubt that. I said, I think he's around here. And I said, I don't think. Jeff's like, man, that's been a long time ago, because it was several, like almost 40 minutes, you know, maybe even close to 50. And check this out, guys. You want to see a miracle from God? My heart, I told Jeff, I said, well, he's not too stupid. I said, I think he would be around here. I'm going to look, Jeff. So soon as I went to drive, man, you know, like the relief that comes whenever, you know, you're lost out at sea, and the next thing you know, the Navy SEALs show up and they just like rescue you, and you feel the rescue from the Lord, you know.
And then I looked down at the one street, because he was going to keep going straight. I looked down the one street, and the guy was like,
hold the wheel for a second.
Is this your dog? I said, yes.
Yeah, that was the miracle moment, man. That guy heard us talking at like right in the middle of the road, like way down, you know, from where he was. And he comes up like running, like, and I was just like, what is this guy at first, you know? And then like, you know, he's like, hey, is this your dog? And I'm just like, gee, because I just felt the Lord just say, there he is, son. You know what I'm saying? There's your boy. You know what I mean? I brought him back to you, and I was like, Lord, thank you. My mind was so tripped out, man. I'm like, as a father of, you know, of the dog, you know, and as a man, you know, a husband to my wife, I'm like, dude, I got to be that hero for my family, you know. But not really just me. It's like just trusting the Lord, because God's the real hero in this situation, man. And I'm nothing, but I was like, Lord, just please, you know, like, do your work. And I promise, man, I'm out there. I'm just like, dude, what? Like, are you serious? And I came up, I gave that dude the biggest hug. I said, thank you so much, brother. I said, I love you, man. I was like, thank you, God. Thank you, brother. I was like, thank you, like, Lord, for helping this guy show us where that dog is. And he's like, it's all good, man. I'm like, and I saw Shadow, man, and it just taught me a lesson, man. Don't take anything for granted, dude. Life, 1 second in life can make a big difference, man. I mean, my grandma used to say before she died, she said, life can change in a moment, in one little second, you know. Your whole life can change in one moment or a second. And, you know, that's a good example, babe. What do you think about that, man?
Yeah, that's the truth. Anybody that has, you know, a pet, because when we were actually we were at somewhere, and that guy said, you know, actually at the trainer place where we train our dogs, he said, you know, these are our kids. You know, they may be on 4 legs, but these are still your kids, you know. So anybody with pets, with cats, with birds, anything, you know, that's your kid, you know. And if something happens to them, or if they go, you know, you're like, what in the world, you know? You just don't know what to think. And now, you know, we're just like, man, you gotta be even better.
You know, it was kind of like, to my point was like, you know, Steph, is like, I was like, man, where are we going to look? You know, we're in the neighborhood. I was like, this is going to be a long night, bro. And then, like, it was just like the Lord said, here, man, he just dumped it on us. That guy came running up, and I didn't understand it at first, but sure enough, man, it was Shadow. We didn't even have to look. You know, that's a miracle, dude.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Shadow was trying to sprint.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny.
Was he?
Yeah, he was like...
Love he.
That guy was trying to like...
Oh my gosh.
So funny.
It is, baby. You know, guys, basically we just share this with you because we just wanted to show you that the hand of God is still active today. And also, you know, don't take anything for granted, man. And love the people you have close to you while you got them as much as you can.
Yeah.
And I just thought that would be a testimony to show like a miracle. Because, I mean, honestly, guys, we didn't know where he was. I mean, we could have passed him on the highway for all we knew, man. He could have ran off to some store. Some person could have picked him up. Like, the guy even said, he's like, man, I'm thinking about, you know, posting him on some lady.
He posted him on Facebook, and he's like, I haven't got no hits. And there was a lady that had lost a dog, and so he was gonna give her for the night, give Shadow to her for the night until they either found whoever, you know, was going to. But he also had a friend, you know, I think, who goes to the pound or whatever, you know, because that's probably where he was gonna be going, you know.
And without that microchip, dude.
Because
Shadow's a highly I mean, he's a hunting dog too, man. So like, you know, people would have latched onto him easy, you know.
Not only that, but he's friendly.
He's a good dog,
very
man.
Trained. He has no problems. Like that guy said, he's like, you know, as soon as I told him to sit, he sat. He's like, you know, so he knew that he was trained. So it was just a miracle that he even, you know, brought him out, you know, because there's so many, you know, people that, you know, steal dogs.
Yeah.
Especially ones that are kind and not trained to be mean. And he's not trained to be mean. He's trained to be good.
So, yeah, I just want to say, man, one last thing. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for everything you did tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you, God. You're amazing. Thank you, Lord. Thank you so much. And, guys, listen, another thing. Wow. Just A+ for the dude that found the dog and freaking tried to find the owner, man. You know, I mean, dude, there's not a lot of people out there, it seems like, anymore. But, man, that just gave me hope that there's still some people out there that, you know, that want to do the right thing, bro. Like, that guy just, like, is the hero of the day. You know, the Lord's the hero of the day. But that guy did the right thing, man. And, like, you know, I'm just so thankful for that dude, man. And, you know, it's like, you know, hopefully there's more people out there like that. So we're going to go ahead and cut it, man. But I hope you guys saw, like, you know, a real special kind of miracle tonight that God did.